Hi, my name is Bernice, and this is a website that we built for a responsive web design class on using HTML and CSS only. This is the home page, and it has some basic information on just on the home page with a picture and the header. It is responsive, so if you resize it for a mobile device would have a different view because of the screen size to make it better for the mobile user. So if the header changes and the navigation changes, the information is still there. It's just a different size and layouts, a different headering. So now what's new this week, the About Us page has some information about us, and it includes a video and a list, just a unordered list of the animals that they helped. The problem we were solving was to create a website where we volunteered at to raise awareness. Uh, so this video, what is interesting about the video, and I will show this in the file later. There's different files. This includes files that enable for accessibility that you can turn the captions on, and so then at the bottom of the screen the captions are appearing. And there's one file for that, and there's another file that will any screen reader can read also. So there's two files. So that one, and I have the volume down on that, but this is the video that we added. And there's different ways to embed the video. You can embed just like a YouTube video. You can use the HTML embed or object or video. And I will show this uses the video elements. So now the partnership page includes a table, and this table is also responsive. And I will show you how we did the table, but this table, once it, let's see, let's get that back. So once we resize it, when it gets to a certain size, it switches. Now we still have the header there. This is for the tablet, but instead of the table, you have a list. And if it goes to a mobile size device, you will have the mobile layout for the header and the navigation, and you still have the list. But for the desktop, you're going to see the header, the navigation, and the table. So the gallery is also new. I will show this. This uses a grid layout, and we use mobile queries based on, so desktop, you're going to see three, three per row. If you go down to the tablet size, you still have three, or it goes to two. It goes to two for tablet, and then it goes down to one for the mobile, based on the size of the device, the media queries. So that is the gallery. And in this, I'll show you, this includes figure, the image, and the fig caption elements, I think. So I'll show you that. And then that's the gallery. The FAQ page we have not done yet. That requires JavaScript, and we did not cover that in this class. So that is something that can be added. And then the contact page is a form. So it has the contact information, and then complete the form below. There's the contact information and additional information and a submit button. And this, if we resize it just to see what it's going to look like, it switches to tablet. So it goes from it has just, these are contact with the additional information below it. And then when it goes to the mobile, it's still that way. And you've got the different header and navigation there. So let's do this. This is the index.html, just to see what this is looking like. So that's what we were looking at there. And then the about page has the video in it. And in the video, in the meta, we have the different links to this, the viewport we have in there. We have the links to the style sheet, and we're using the Google fonts. And we have a shortcut icon that we're using. And then we have some different icons that are included in there in different places on here. There, we're using a wrapper. So we have the different classes for tablet, and desktop is for the header. You see one header, and for mobile, you see the different header. And this navigation in the main, the div is info. We have the video here, and there's a images, and then we have the different sources of the media. So we have the same video in different formats. And then we have also a captions.btt and a descriptions.btt. And the captions is what appear at the bottom, and then the descriptions are what screen readers can access to read it. So what those look like are in the media. We have in a rescue folder, we have a CSS folder with styles, images, with all the different images and icons that we use throughout here. And then we have the media, we have the captions.btt, and it's this file. It's required to have the first line is web BTT. Trying to move this a little bit. Oh, there it is. So web BTT in the very first line has to be. Then we have a blank line. This is a keyword here, note, and then this is a comment here, but it's with that note. And then this is the number one. That is the first line. And we have our text that's the time and the text that's going to be. So the the sequence number is what it's called. So there's the sequence number, the time that it appears, and then what text is going to appear. And then we have a blank line, and then we have the next cue. So that's for all of those. So it's called captions.btt, and then we have a descriptions.btt, and it's still the web BTT and the note, and it still has the numbers and the time and the captions in it. But this is for any screen reader can read. So, and then we have our video, and then in two different formats there. And then, let's see, that's about us. The partnership page is where it shows up as a table or a list, depending on the size of it. So here we are grateful. That's what you're seeing here. And then you have the sponsorship. This is for the class mobile tablet. So the mobile and the tablet are going to see this. And then we have another div for desktop that's going to see the table. And so there's a caption for the table. We have the row 1 where we have the headers for that in that row. And then we have row 2 is the different, they're different levels of sponsorship. So they have different levels. And so there's a row for each level there. So there's the row, the TR, and then the data for each one of those. And then it ends with the closing table. And that's inside a div, inside the main. So that changes based on the size of the screen. And this one is not going. See, there it goes. That's the table. Okay, so now the gallery is also new this week. And the gallery is also designed with to use the media queries. So for mobile, it's only one column. And then for tablet, it switches to two. And then for desktop, it switches to three. And then if we had a large enough screen, it would go to four. I think I'll show you that in the uh, CSS. So, and these are the gallery. Um, each picture, each figure has an image and a big caption. So, um, inside the figure element is the image, and we still have the alternate if something if it couldn't display it, and then the big caption, which is what you see below it. And so we do that for each element. This is inside a class called grid. So here's our class called grid, and we're using a side here, and then those are all the pictures. So then in the CSS, we'll look at that right now. And reset everything at the beginning so that the browser doesn't have any defaults, margin, padding, or border. And then we set the background color. There are rules for top desk, desktop, mobile. So there's going to be the grid down here. There's for the big and big caption, there's CSS added for that, for the telephone links. So the grid, this is some more for the media queries. We have a grid with a column size of one, span two, and then let's see for the grid. Here's the grid. So the grid you'll want to have, this would be auto. Those are 3 columns, and it's with the gap of 30 pixels. That is for the desktop viewport. There's also a form grid for which is 2. This is a media query for large desktop. This one is the grid with auto. So that would go up to 4 pictures for the large desktop. So there is the form grid with 2. That's for the form. Let's see. The aside is using grid. There's a grid. This is for 3 columns. That's for desktop viewport. And then this one is just the grid. This is for the tablet viewport. It's just 2 columns. The display is grid with 2 columns. And then that's it. Okay. So now back to here. The FAQs we have not done, that requires JavaScript. We can cover it. And the contact has the form, and it's also using a grid layout. So we have, the form is a form grid, And then we have a field set. We have two field sets. So that's why when this is larger, it goes to 2 columns. And then when it's smaller, it goes to 1. And so this one, right now on the smaller screen, it's just going to 1 column, but it can go to 2. And the form is, we're using the field set, and then we have labels and inputs for the label for the first name, and then the input type is text, and then we have a name and an ID. And so we have first name, last name, name of business, email, and phone. Email is a type email, and phone is type tel. And then also we also are using different types of, for the, what you would like more information on, those are radio buttons. And then we also have a text area for that you could type in more information, and then you would just hit submit. This, we don't have the JavaScript and everything set up on it to go to a server. So this one is just a submit button, but it's not going to do anything here. And it is the form for the contact. So now this is MDN, and out here in MDN there are Flexbox, information on Flexbox. So I'm going to use that. And then also out there's CSS grid layout, which is what we were using this, and why and when you might use that. And then some things to know, like when you first define Flexbox, it's just going to be 1 column. And then to get other columns to show up, that's when you would use the, like we did for the tablet or the desktop or the large desktop. You define how many columns you want. You can also do the gaps. So there's different information on here that you can check out. The big caption is also on MDN. The form, there is information on the form, on the form elements, and then using the submission. There'll be other things that couldn't show with this, but there's more you can do with the forms to submit it. But we did not. We just had a basic submit button. And then once you have JavaScript, you can do more with it. There is, just looking what they have on the form element here. HTML forms guide, buttons, input, legend, options. So there's different elements out here, different information they have out here on MDN. And then the table, there is the table elements, and then using the the caption and the T head, and the row with the table headings, and then the row, the body, the rows with the, well, they actually they use a T heading to get it to show up bold. And then, so they have a table heading here, and then they have a data cell and another data cell. So that is how they're doing that. So there's different things you can do with the table. And that is it for this week. And that is it for all that we did with this project. From this project, you could make another website, and we did a portfolio website. So we just followed along with we kind of based it on, most of us, you could do your own, but we had requirements for a website, and it had to be responsive. We did mobile first, and then we had different pages that had different headings, and then we had images and we had to use a table and a gallery. So you could kind of make other websites use this as a kind of a template for other websites. You could change the colors and the fonts and the pictures and different layouts, but this was like a good basis to create other websites with. And I thank you and wish you a great week.